Devin Booker has a bit of a history of exceeding expectations. Obviously, that starts with him being taken 13th in the 2015 NBA draft, only to become a number one scoring option, but all along the way, there have been little things too. For instance, Booker dropped at least 30 points on 16 different occasions in his first two seasons, but never eclipsed the 40 mark until he hit 70 against Boston in a game that analysts still bring up at every chance possible today. If you look at his three-point shooting, it was a joke on Suns Twitter for years that Booker might never exceed 6 made threes in a game, a milestone he was stuck on until he hit 8 in a 47-point closeout win versus the Lakers a couple of weeks ago. This is a guy who shines in big moments, and he had another one last night with his first career triple-double and 40 points to boot in a Game 1 win over the Clippers. Watching back the tape again, I concluded I have no choice but to call what happened last night Devin Booker's best game ever. Let's talk about why. The biggest thing that separates Booker from many of his contemporaries is his shot versatility. Last night he displayed true three-level scoring, attacking the rim, getting to his favorite spots in the mid-range, and scoring from deep. But why do we care so much about shot versatility? It's not just because it's aesthetically pleasing to see a player score from different areas of the court, it's because it makes you unpredictable and capable of dismantling multiple defensive coverages as a result. The Clippers threw everything in their book at Book last night, and that meant switching pick and rolls, trapping, dropping the big man, or even running a zone. Booker's ability to continually get into the teeth of the defense and pull up from anywhere made them uncomfortable no matter what they were running. Now, a lot of this stuff has been in Booker's bag for years, we know that. But all throughout last night, you could see the vicarious influence of Chris Paul on his game as he has leveled up and mastering all of the fundamentals in the way that a guy like CP3 does. Look at how much poise Booker shows here to snake around multiple defenders from the top of the key and get to a spot at the elbow, and then consider where we've seen that a million times before. In fact, let's run the clips side by side. This is Booker doing his best Chris Paul impression at a pivotal moment in the game. But then, there are areas where Booker brings something to the table that we know Paul can't. For instance, his ability to bang in the post for buckets. Here we see Booker taking it right to Terrence Mann in an area of the court where many modern shooting guards don't feel comfortable at all. And finally, I need to stress Booker's three-point shooting in this game because it's an area that I've picked on in the past. Booker shot just 30.8% on pull-up threes in the regular season. While he is a good shooter, he hasn't always forced defenses to fight through screens and get to him as quickly as possible for fear of the quick shot, the way that defenses typically guard players like Steph Curry or Dame Lillard. Last night, without Chris Paul to set him up, all three of Book's made threes were difficult, self-created pull-ups, and he's now up to 35% on that type of shot in the playoffs. If he can keep up that rate long-term, it only makes him more dynamic and more unstoppable. So far, we've only talked scoring, and as you know, that's barely half the battle. Book also had 11 assists to only 2 turnovers in this one, even playing point guard for some stretches, which he hasn't done in quite a long time. Even just boiling his playmaking down to assists doesn't do the performance justice. Booker had multiple hockey assists, where he was trapped on the perimeter and made the easy read to allow the Suns to swing and find a corner shooter. When he was credited with an assist, it was often because he drove with purpose, sucked in multiple defenders, and found a weak spot to kick the ball to. For example, this is just a ridiculous amount of space for Cam Johnson to set up shop and knock down an easy one. And DeAndre Ayton was also terrific in this game at trailing plays so that the guard penetration could open up opportunities for him at the rim. Moving on, I don't consider rebounds to be as important of a stat for guards, but Book won me over specifically because of how he combined those boards with high levels of defensive focus. Watch here as he swings over from the nail to help cut off PG's drive, recovers onto Rondo on the perimeter, and ends, ultimately, the possession with the defensive board. Booker as a defender is not disruptive. He doesn't get a ton of steals or blocks for his size, but he has figured out how to more consistently be in the right place at the right time, and that's more than enough for what the Suns need him to be on that end. In conclusion, the combination of the high-stakes environment, the elite shot-making, the manipulative playmaking demonstrated to me that this was Booker's best game to date. With his co-star sidelined, it's hard enough for Booker to be able to react to all of the different defensive coverages that Ty Lue has up his sleeve, but it's the sign of a truly special player that he can pick apart each one and start to dictate where he wants the defense to be. 44 minutes last night, still have a hell of a workload for Book. The Suns need Chris Paul back sooner rather than later if they want to feel confident about the rest of their postseason run. But these are the types of moments where superstars assert themselves, and Book did exactly that in Game 1. The late Kobe Bryant once called on him to be legendary, and legendary he was. That's all for me today, guys. If you're new to the channel, I just want to remind you that my co-host Mike and I operate a Suns podcast that is posting new episodes after every single game of the playoffs. We don't upload those to YouTube, but they are available on any podcast streaming app or at the link in the description below, so don't miss out on that extra content. We go way more in depth on X's and O's than we have a chance to hear via video, so give us a try if you haven't. Peace out, and go Suns.